has become accustomed to very trying circumstances. But we can extend that catalog of good news and talk about the trend that we have already discussed and had a dialogue about in the course of our conversation here. That is, in the area of religious affiliation. As I've mentioned over the last 2 lectures, it is common knowledge that contemporary Christianity is undergoing or experiencing a sea change in regards to its membership. The change is commonly described in sociological terms as demographic shift. There are writers and theologians with sociological bent who relentlessly produce statistics and data that show that Christianity's center of gravity, so to speak, is shifting dramatically from the global north to the global south, and that is mainly from Europe and North America to Africa, Asia, Latin America. And to cite one example of Africa, 1 in 5 of all the Christians in the world, which is 21%, now lives in sub-Saharan Africa. So that over a period of 100 years, Christianity in Africa has recorded an astronomical 70-fold increase in membership from 7 million to 470 million, according to the Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life. By any standard, I believe, this is good news for any institution, organization, or community that defines progress largely in terms of its ability to attract and recruit and retain more members. What I find interesting is, as I come through the literature, is that the demographic shift is greeted with mixed feelings. For some people, there is excitement and gratitude for the abundant and flourishing fruits of relentless and long missionary toils and labors on the continent. Now, who could have predicted 100 years ago that a continent that had become notorious as the white man's graveyard would become the heart of Christianity, or one of its hearts today? I have also picked up reactions of a certain alarm in some quarters that this demographic shift means that the church is going to fall into the hands of other people. Other people. John Allen, a writer for the NCR, describes in one of his books this demographic shift as the upside-down church. It's a vivid image if you look at the globe. As the upside-down church. Among other things, it means, he explains, that the church or Christianity is no longer, or the center of Christianity is no longer in Europe or North America, but it's also shifting to Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And in these places, 2/3 of the total membership of the church now live. And sometimes this is described as the 2/3 churches. Perhaps for some people then, the church is really upside down. Now think of it. What will become of a Catholic Church? The Roman Catholic Church that is led by, say, a Pope, Yosefu Mukasa Alekudembe I from Uganda, or a Pope Doc Gwen from Vietnam, or Pope Rodrigo Carlos from Guatemala. Now, if you ask me, I would think that would be very exciting. Or maybe not. It depends on where you stand. But other times, I've also picked up a certain sense of nostalgia for the way things used to be. And some would say a restoration. And therefore a reluctance and an inability to accept the obvious and begin to learn to grapple with the scope of this demographic shift. I am not convinced that in theological circles that we are already at least admitting and dealing with the consequences of this shift. And recently, the highly respected American Catholic theologian, Richard McBride, produced a critically acclaimed book titled The Church, The Evolution of Catholicism. I, for one, have enjoyed reading this book and using this book in my class on theology of the church. But yet, for a book that is acclaimed as encyclopedic, magisterial in scope, because it deals with the church, the universal church, I find it quite unsettling that the total space devoted to topics such as feminist and non-feminist ecclesiology, Hispanic, Latino, Latina ecclesiologists, African and African American ecclesiologies, adds up to no more than a paltry 9 pages. The rest is all about the church in the Western Hemisphere. So a situation like this leaves me wondering, how much is Christianity's so-called new center or new centers of gravity, how much are they worth in Western theological imagination and scholarship? If the celebrated German theologian Karl Rahner was right, we have indeed truly entered fully in the third great epoch of the community called church. In other words, gone are the days of the small band of Judeo-Christian church whose center was Jerusalem. Gone too is the era of Christendom or Eurocentric Christianity. According to Rahner, since Vatican II, the church is now a world church. Christianity is now a global phenomenon. And this means that the church now more fully recognizes itself as a global, multicultural community. And I think it would take us perhaps another century to begin to understand what that means for how we live Christianity in different parts of the world. And so in this concluding presentation, I would like to explore more explicitly some of the implications of this demographic shift. In doing so, I would like to pull together some of the points that I have already alluded to and which we have had a conversation and a dialogue about. And on some of these issues, I will be appealing to the idea of church that is much wider than the Roman Catholic community. So what issues might the church in Africa be bringing to the fore in the world church? How might the church in Africa, or the unfolding story of Christianity on the continent, help the universal church, or global Christianity, to embrace and deal with issues outside of its traditional doctrinal and theological focus?